ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Today is our 44th class. We will chant, we can repeat. वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम्
वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं
नत्वा
ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते।
मुमुक्षूणाहितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधोऽभिधीयते।
साधनचतुष्टयसम्पन्नाधिकारिणाम्
साधनचतुष्टयसम्पन्नाधिकारिणां
मोक्षसाधनभूतम्
मोक्षसाधनभूतं
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारं वक्ष्यामः।
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारं वक्ष्यामः।
The author, through the first two, from the first Prarthana Shloka and from the first statement of the text, is mentioned Anubandha Chatushtayam and Sadhana Chatushtayam. Anubandha Chatushtayam is a four-fold connections. What is the subject matter of the book? Who is an Adhikari? What is the Vishaya? And what is the Sambandha? Between the book and the subject matter, what is the Sambandha? Pratipadaka Pratipadya Sambandha. Any grantha, any text will have Anubandha Chatushtayam. And Adhikari, the the person who is eligible to study the Grantha. Now further this Adhikari for Paramapurushartha, Moksha Purushartha, who is an Adhikari? Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampannaha Adhikari. Therefore, what is Sadhana Chatushtayam has to be explained. So that the author has done. In this line of the text, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarina, Adhikari who is endowed with Sadhana Chatushtayam. What is Sadhana Chatushtayam? And that was defined from the next line also onwards that we saw. So every time the author, you see, he uses a word which we don't know. That is taken up for discussion. That is how the text goes. Tattvabodha, Vedanta Sara, all these texts have this beautiful feature. The author introduces a new word, and the new word is defined in the next line. So here, Sadhana Chatushtayam is defined. Having understood Sadhana Chatushtayam, then we know Adhikari is one who is endowed with the Sadhana Chatushtayam, and that becomes the sadhana for moksha. That becomes moksha sadhana bhutam. That is conducive for moksha, gaining moksha, freedom. Okay, then the subject matter of the book is Tattva Viveka. So Tattva Viveka has to be dealt with, has to be defined. What is Tattva Viveka? The name of the text is Tattva Bodha. So what is Tattva? That has to be defined. Tattva Viveka. So that is going to be the topic now. So the topic will be Tattva Viveka. Tattva Viveka Prakaram Pakshyamaha. The author says. So that will be the topic. So Sadhana Chatushtayam, we have seen, so we need not read that. Maybe we can read only this, just these 4 lines, which which describes what is Sadhana Chatushtayam. Not in detail, we don't have to get into all those things, because already we have seen in so many classes. So we know. So just we can read what is Sadhana Chatushtayam. Again, repeat. Sadhana Chatushtayam kim?
Sadhana Chatushtayam kim?
Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha.
Nitya Vastu Vivekaha.
Iha Mutra Artha Phala Bhoga Viragaha.
Iha Mudrartha Phala Bhoga Viragaha.
Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi.
Samadhi Shatka Sampattihi.
Mumukshutvam Cheti.
Mukshutvam Cheti.
You can see here Nitya plus Anitya, Nitya Nitya. Iha plus Amutra, Iha Mutra. Then Amutra plus Artha, Amutra Artha. Then Shama plus Adi, Shamadi. All these are Savarna Dirgha Sandhi, which we saw yesterday. So this we can spot. All these are simple Sandhi Niyamas. Okay. Then Sadhana Chatushtayam, we need not read, because we have been reading for the last many classes. So now, having dealt with the Sadhana Chatushtayam, the author says, Etat Sadhana Chatushtayam
Sadhana Chatushtayam
aha tattva vivekasya adhikarinaha bhavanti.
ततः तत्त्वविवेकस्य अधिकारिणः भवन्ति.
So this is Sadhana Chatushtayam. This is Sadhana Chatushtayam. Therefore, for Tattva Viveka, the one who is endowed with Sadhana Chatushtayam becomes the Adhikari. He is the qualified, the eligible person. Every pursuit has got some eligibility. Every action has got certain eligibility. For the pursuit of moksha, moksha is by knowledge, jnanam. So therefore, for that, the person must be a sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha. This sadhana chatushtaya sampannaha sampatti, it is not that after completely acquired this, only then the person can pursue Shastram. It is not like that. We need certain basic eligibility, certain basic conditions we should fulfill so that the pursuit of Shastram will be fruitful. And the study of Shastram itself over a period of time, we will see the study of Shastram itself would have given us certain maturity, certain understanding. The study of Shastram itself will help us in cultivating sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. The more we study, the more we dwell on Shastram, the more we become clear, we get more and more clarity, and our priority also changes. And we also, from being a samsari, we become a mumukshu, a sadhaka. Study of Shastram can convert a samsari purusha to a mumukshu. So therefore, sadhana chatushtayam in complete form cannot be expected. It is like that a person must have gained 100 marks in all the subjects, then only he can pursue higher studies. It is not possible. If a person has secured minimum marks to pass, then the person can pursue the next level of study. Similarly, here also, the more you study, the more you understand, slowly your approach, your attitude towards the Shastram and your priorities in life and the values, everything will continue to change and will help to understand what the Shastram says. We gain more and more clarity. The clearness is important. So therefore, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, it is not a one-day job. The whole life is meant for gaining this sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. It's a whole lifetime preparation. So therefore, to expect that sadhana chatushtayam to be there completely, it is not possible. Nobody is a perfect sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. Nobody is a perfect adhikari. Expecting a adhikari to be perfect is like expecting the gas to be ideal, like in chemistry. There is no ideal gas. Ideal gas is an imaginary gas only. Similarly, here also, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti cannot be in a person in completely, so that the person becomes an ideal adhikari. There is no ideal adhikari. We have to watch ourselves from where we are and where we have come up to. So over a period of time, the more you dwell on the Shastram, over a period of time, you yourself will find that your clarity and your commitment for the freedom, when you see that it increases, when the priority increases, when you will see that you have value for it. You have value for Shastra Patanam, Shastra Shavanam. That shows your adhikaritvam has improved. There is one more advantage to listening to Shastram. Shastra Patanam, Shastra Shravanam is a punya karma. It gives punyam. And the punyam also removes all the pratibandha, unknown pratibandhas. To study Shastram itself is punyam. And the Shastram cannot be studied by oneself. It has to be taught. Therefore, the teacher, the acharya is required. To gain acharya also requires punyam. So, the very pursuit of study of Shastram itself is because of the punyam. Because punyam is there, therefore, we get an opportunity to be exposed to Shastram. So that itself shows that we have sadhana chatushtayam. Punyam is there, then only you get exposed to Shastram and the teacher. Otherwise, it is not possible. Even if you are exposed to Shastram, the interest, the understanding takes place. It all depends on the grace of the Ishvara. So, therefore, one can continue to study Shastram. Even though certain clarity, it is not there immediately, but over a period of time, you will feel that you will be gaining more and more the clarity. Even if the clarity is there, and the benefit of jnana, is not experienced by the person. Suppose if it is so, then the person, the sadhaka, must understand it is not problem with the Shastram. It is not problem with the person who teaches the Shastram, the teacher, the acharya. It is a problem with oneself. One has to own up the problem. That is myself. So I need to prepare myself more to understand what the Shastram says. So one take up the responsibility. One will not blame the Shastram nor the acharya. So it is one takes the responsibility. One understands that one needs to grow more further to understand Shastram, to understand what the Shastram teaches, and gain the palam. The palam is moksha, the freedom. So therefore, sadhana chatushtayam is given much importance for us to understand. We can also observe ourselves where we were and where we are after some time. You will see that you are growing in terms of Shama, in terms of Dhamma. Having understood what is Shama and Dhamma and Titiksha, you are able to put up with certain situations in life without murmuring, without lamenting, not becoming a victim to the situation, accepting the situation as it comes, because no situations, no things come without the approval of the Lord. Our own karma comes in the form of karma palam. So we accept the karma palam as the prasada, Ishvara prasada. Therefore, such readiness to accept and becoming a calm and composed person, having the viveka and enjoying certain vairagyam, withdrawing from the anitya vastu. The anitya vastu will not have any dent on you. So all these are the indicators of our level of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. And how this sadhana chatushtayam is gained? That is gained by karma yoga and upasana, which the text doesn't discuss. For that only we have Gita and other text. Karma yogena chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi is important too. Chitta shuddhi and chitta naischalyam. Chitta shuddhi means the purity of mind. Chitta naischalyam means the ability to have the one-pointedness. Chitta naischalyam. Chitta naischalyam is achieved by upasana, by Saguna Brahma Upasana, any form of Upasana, Ishvara Aradhana, in the form of Puja, the form of Japa, any form of Upasana. And Shastram prescribes a lot of Upasana. Upasana could be physical or Upasana could be mental. Manasa Upasana also. That becomes meditation. Saguna Brahma Upasana, meditation. For what? For Chitta Naischalyam, for gaining the steadiness of mind. Chitta Naischalyam. And Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi means our raga and dvesha. Raga is likes. Dvesha is dislike. If you analyze, our whole pursuit is based on this raga and dvesha. This raga and dvesha takes us for the ride of our pravritti and nivritti. We have pravritti. We engage in doing certain action. Why? Because we want to gain that object or that person, gain that vishaya towards which we have abhinivesha, attachment, liking. A binding is there. Because of this binding desire, the desire is binding, then it will result in abhinivesha, raga, attachment, without which we would not be able to survive. That is raga. Similarly, dvesha is dislike, hatred. Dvesha should not be mistaken for vairagya. Vairagya is out of maturity. Dvesha is of immaturity. Dvesha, dislike, hatred for certain things. We want to get rid of certain things from life. Therefore, we withdraw from it. We withdraw from it, or we try to get rid of that. That is nivritti. So, pravritti is because of raga, and nivritti, dvesha. Our whole life is nothing but pravritti, nivritti. Any one of this will be there always. And analyzing the cause, we come to understand that it is our own raga, dvesha are the cause. That towards which I have raga becomes an object of desire for me, without which I cannot survive. Therefore, all the time that thing will be in the mind, occupying the mind, will not allow to enjoy the peace of mind. And therefore, no shama, no dhamma, it is not possible. Similarly, dvesha also. So, to neutralize this raga dvesha, Shastram prescribes karma yoga. The whole Veda Purva, which prescribes a lot of karma, certain karmas in the form of nitya karma, nimitika karma, is for gaining this chitta shuddhi, purification of mind. Purification of mind means neutralization of this raga dvesha. Raga dvesha is samsara. Samsara involves pravritti and nivritti. And pravritti, nivritti is nothing but because of this raga dvesha. Therefore, to have a say over raga dvesha, a person must resort to karma yoga. Doing karma, doing actions. If it is a Vaidika karma, nitya naimittika karma must be done by a person with an attitude of offering that karma palam to the Lord. Doing nitya naimittika karma must be done. So, therefore, doing that karma for what? Chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi. If it is not Vaidika karma, because Vaidika karma is only for the people who follows the Veda. From the Laukika standpoint, any karma, what is supposed to be done by you? It is your dharma and that is your karma and that you do. Not propelled by raga dvesha. That one has to get trained to do that. By doing one gets trained. So that is karma yoga. You do karma, you do action and offer the action to the Lord. That is Ishvararpana Buddhi. That attitude with which you do an action as an offering to the Lord, and the result of that action, karma palam, which depends on so many factors and comes to you. And the karma palam could be either in keeping with your expectation or below your expectation, or sometimes above your expectation, or sometimes quite opposite to your expectation. We don't know. So many factors, hidden factors are there. When whatever it may be, it comes to you, accepting that without any murmuring, accepting as a prasada. You deserve it, therefore you got it. So therefore, accepting that. Listen. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah, something happened in between. Yeah. So accepting the karma palam as it comes as a prasada from Ishvara. This is prasada buddhi. So the whole karma yoga is nothing but doing karma with an attitude of puja. It is like a puja. Puja doesn't mean you should sit only near the altar and do. Even doing what is to be done, doing is one swadharma with the proper attitude. This attitude is called karma yoga. Karma yoga buddhi. Ishvararpana buddhi and prasada buddhi is called karma yoga. So what is the use of this karma yoga? To gain adhikaritvam. So the means for gaining sadhana chatushtayam is following karma yoga and upasana yoga. Upasana yoga is the meditation. These are the means for gaining sadhana chatushtayam, which the text doesn't deal with. That is not the scope of this text. If it is going to be the karma yoga topic, then the text will become longer. This is a very simple text. So the text assumes the person is a karma yogi, has done karma, has done karma yoga, and has gained certain chitta shuddhi, chitta naishchalyam. Therefore, the person is qualified to study the text. That is what the text expects. Therefore, doesn't deal with karma yoga and upasana. These are dealt in the Gita, and we will be seeing in Gita in detail. Now, sadhana chatushtayam is done. The one who has sadhana chatushtayam is the adhikari for the tattva viveka. So viveka, what is viveka? Viveka means we saw. Viveka means inquiry. What inquiry? Discriminative inquiry. By inquiry, what you gain? Knowledge, understanding. Viveka is required for understanding of things, for gaining clear knowledge of things. Why clear knowledge? Because there is a mix-up. Things are mixed up. Therefore, one needs to have clear knowledge, the distinct knowledge. That is possible only by inquiry, only by vichara. Therefore, we say it is Tattva Viveka is Tattva Vichara, inquiry into the Tattvam. So it is a Vichara, the inquiry. The whole Shastram is Vichara, inquiry, discriminative analysis, Viveka Vichara. Tattva means the truth. What is the truth? That is going to be dealt with later. Tattvam. So, discriminative analysis of the truth. Discriminative analysis of the truth. So, why do we need vichara? Why do we need vichara? Because the vichara is required to remove the certain misunderstandings, certain misconceptions. So therefore, certain misconceptions are there already in our buddhi about things. That has to be removed. That is why vichara is done. Certain misconception means certain understanding of things, misunderstandings. Therefore, Purusha Buddhi Gata Dosha, it's a defect. It's a defect in the mind of the human beings. So therefore, tad dosha apanaya vicharaha kartavyaha. Vichara is to be done to remove those doshas. And for that, to do that vichara, we need Shastram. That's called Shastra Vichara. Shastra Vichara is Tattva Vichara, Atma Vichara. The Vichara of Shastram is Tattva Vichara, Atma Vichara. Understanding the Tattva, which is Atma. That is what the author is going to say, the next sentence. Shastra Vichara is not something which we discuss about a text. Shastra Vichara is Tattva Vichara. It's Atma Vichara. It is the inquiry or it is the analysis about Atma. It is called self-inquiry. Self-inquiry, the famous word, self-inquiry. One has to inquire oneself. How to inquire oneself? Just to ask, who am I? Who am I? Will land up nowhere. Unless Shastram is there, Atma Vichara is not possible. Therefore, Tattva Vichara is Atma Vichara. And Atma Vichara is possible only through the Shastram. Shastram is the Pramana. And the Shastram reveals the Prameya, which is Atma. Therefore, Vichara of Shastram is Vichara of Atma. And since about Atma, we have certain misunderstandings. Therefore, Vichara is to be done. And Vichara gives you clarity. Vichara gives you Jnanam. And the Jnanam is Moksha. So, Vichara removes confusion. Vichara removes the misunderstandings. And removal of misunderstandings gives clarity, understanding of things. And when you understand the things on the Atma clearly, that is Moksha. So, therefore, Vedanta being a Pramanam. So, Vedanta Vichara, Vedanta Shastra Vichara, Vedanta Shastra Vakya Vichara is the means for gaining Jnanam and therefore Moksha. Therefore, Vicharaha Kartavyaha. Tattva Viveka Vicharaha Kartavyaha. What is Tattva Viveka? Now the author has introduced Tattva Viveka. Viveka we know. Tattva Viveka, the term. And that is, Tattva Viveka is Tattva Bodha. That is what the author is going to explain in the next line. You can repeat. Tattva Vivekaha Kaha.
Vivekaha kaha.
Atma Satyaha
Atma Satyah
Tadanyat Sarvam Mithya Iti.
Tadanyat Sarvam Vidya Iti Nitya.
Tattva Viveka. What is Tattva Viveka? Then the author says, Atma Satyaha Tadanyat, other than Atma, everything is Mithya. Now, question is asked by the Shishya. The teacher answered, the many words are not known. What is Atma? We don't know. The text has not dealt so far with the word Atma. With the word Satya also. The text has not dealt with. And Mithya, one more new term. All these terms are not known. The next line will be Atma. What is Atma? The author will describe. But now for our discussion, we should know what is Atma. What is Atma? What is Satya? What is Mithya? All these things we should know. Therefore, we are going to discuss on these words now. Then only the line will become meaningful. The line has got two bhaga, two portions. One is Atma Satyaha. Satyaha Atma, that is one part. The second part is Anyat, Tat Anyat, other than that, Sarvam Mithya. That is the second portion. The two portions are there. So, therefore, Atma Satyaha, what is Atma? We don't know. That is going to be the next line. Atma Kaha, the author will ask, the Shishya will ask, and the Guru will explain about Atma. Now, let us have some idea about what Atma is. It's the most often used word Atma. We say Jivatma, we say Paramatma, Pratyekatma. Atma is used in many contexts, meaning many things. The word Atma in the Shastram, sometimes it can mean Atma, meaning that it is self. We know because we have been studying Shastram, so we know Atma is self. That is that knowledge we have because of our because of the knowledge of our study. The paperback understanding is there. The paperback understanding of Atma is self. Okay. The same word Atma is also used in the meaning of body. Sometimes it is used in the meaning of senses. So, in what sense Atma is used here? That we have to see. Atma Satyaha. In what sense the word Atma is used? It is used in the sense of self, meaning self, our true self. Our true self, that is the subject. That is the subject. Atma is the subject. It is the person. What is the subject? Subject, object. Subject, objects. Subject and objects are there. I see the tree, a huge tree in front of me. It is an object of my perception. I see the mountain. I see you. So I see so many things. I hear sounds and I smell, I taste, I touch. All these are the objects of my perception. I am, then who is this I am? I am the person. For me, all these are available as an object, available as objects of perception. I experience these objects. All these objects, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, the form, the taste, the smell, the touch, the whole world, the whole prapancha is available for my perception. Then who is this I? All these are objects, but I am not the object. If I am also an object, then I should be available for my objectification. Therefore, this I, which is Atma, it is not an object. It is a subject. That is why I said in the beginning, Atma is the subject, the person for whom or who looks at the world, who transacts with the world, who responds to the world. That person is called the Atma. Atma, for Atma, the Atma is the subject, means a subject. For him, everything is an object. Everything is available as object. Therefore, Atma is not, that is, I am not an object. I am not any one of the things which I can know. You may say this is, you may say mine and I. That is different. You may think of the objects as mine, but they are not you. They are not I. When you say this is my book, this is my mobile, this is my father, this is my child. So on all this, the I is extended, but they are not you. They are not me. So I is there. In fact, the I is there in all the transaction. Without the I, there cannot be any transaction possible. The I, the I plays a different role also. The I plays a role of a father sometimes. Sometimes it plays the role of the son. Sometimes plays the role of an employee. Sometimes employer. Sometimes a citizen. Different roles are placed. Different roles are played by this I. So therefore, this I, what is this I? The knowledge about this I is not clear. We use the word I am. So that is now we can take it as Atma. But we have to understand, we have to analyze what this I is. Whether this I is same or why I keeps on changing. If I keeps on changing, then you are not the same person who were at 5 years of your age. If I keeps on changing, then the person who was at 5 years, who was at 10 years, who is now 50, is not the same I. But that is not the case. The I continues from my birth up to now, the same I continues. The I doesn't change. In spite of things and objects and people around me change continuously, but the I continues to be the same I without changing. But we use the word I am. Therefore, from the general understanding or from our normal understanding of what this I is, we can say Atma means this I, whatever may be the understanding of I. That has to be inquired. That has to be inquired. Because this I is placed on so many things. Therefore, vicharaha kartavyaha. What is this I, this Atma? So one thing is very clear. One thing is very clear. This certain knowledge about this I, the Atma, is not there. Clear knowledge about this Atma, I, is not there. Therefore only vicharaha. Therefore only to gain that only we have to do the vichara. So whatever you know, that is object and you are the subject. So two things are always there, subject and object. The whole life is nothing but the subject, you dealing with the object. The whole life is the vyavahara of the transaction of the subject object. Therefore only we consider or we think that Dvaitam is a reality because there is a difference, subject-object difference. From the beginning, from our birth onwards, this duality, with this duality concept, idea, because that is a reality for us. I is there and objects are there. So I deal with the objects. Always there is a duality. Dvaitam. Dvaitam is there. The whole prapancha is Dvaitam for us. And we deal with so many things in life. And we are after things. Sometimes we are after things. Sometimes we want to get rid of things. We are afraid of certain things. So the object, the objects, the objects of the world sometimes becomes a means for the raga, sometimes for dvesha, sometimes for fear. All our emotion, all our emotion, and the transaction, it's based on this appreciation of this idea of duality, subject object. Therefore, there are two things, subject and the object. And Bhagavan Krishna says the subject is kshetrajna. The subject is kshetrajna and the object is kshetra. The 13th chapter he uses the word kshetra and kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is kshetram janati iti kshetrajnaha, the one who knows the kshetra. Kshetra meaning object. Kshetra is the object. Kshetrajna is the one who knows the object. So, kshetra and kshetrajna, two things are there. Now, what is this? What is our idea about this kshetra, otherwise called Atma, otherwise called this I? We are not clear about it. Therefore, we have to do the vichara. Is this Atma? Let us use the word Atma. Is this Atma the body? Atma meaning I. I without any attributes, without any superimposition, superimposed things, free from any superimposition. It's very difficult to even visualize, imagine this I without any superimposition. Always this I is accompanied with certain things, certain adjectives. Sometimes it is a tall I, it's a small I, insignificant I, insecure I, or secure I. I always have some adjectives. Therefore, we have to look into this I as only I without any attributes. Now, I, the Atma, are you the Shariram? Are you the Shariram, the body? Like any object which are located outside, like a tree, like a mountain, like a river, like the deers, they're all available outside of me. They are objects. They are not I. They are not me, the Atma. So we don't have any problem in recognizing them as different from me. They are objects of my perception. What about your body? Your body, this physical body, which has got all the features, all the attributes. The body, somebody is tall, somebody is short, somebody has got fair skin, somebody dark skin, somebody fat, somebody is very lean. Different bodies are there. And what is your conclusion or your idea with regard to your body? That depends on the feature of the body. Suppose if your body is tall, but you don't say body is tall, you say I am tall. You say I am tall, or I am short, I am fat, I am intelligent, I am ignorant. Even all the emotional complexes, they are attributed to this I. One person say I am intelligent, other person say I am ignorant. Uses the same I only. uses the same I. When you say I, it is the I at that time, it is identified with the body. It is when you say I am tall, I am short, it is identified with the body. The tallness and the shortness is not for the Atma. If it is for the Atma, all the time it should be tall, all the time it should be short. With reference to a person who is shorter than you, you are tall. Therefore, then you will say, I am tall. But I am tall or I am short. What is the conclusion? Conclusive idea. It's all relative. So I also changing its status. In our Vyavahara, the I is changes. But one thing is very clear. I changes, but really I doesn't change. It is with reference to objects. With reference to objects, this I change. And body is also an object. The body is also an object. It is very clearly seen. It is very clearly even understood by us because this body is born, the body is grown, the body undergoes changes, the body undergoes decay and die. So the body keeps on changing, but the I, it doesn't change. The I remains the same I. The body changes. And body is also an object because it is available for your perception. You see the body growing. You see the body changing. Like any object which I see, whose changes I can observe. Similarly, change of the body you can observe. Therefore, body is an object. But do we recognize it as an object? We recognize this object body as myself. I so much attached or connected, superimposed with this body, the body is taken to be I. Now, Atma, the subject, when we say, are you the body? It is very clear it cannot be the body. But all our vyavahara, the transaction, our sukha, dukkha, everything is connected to the body. If you don't have this abhinivesha, this self-identity with the body, then there is no problem. Sukham, dukkham is not for I. If it is for I, then all the time the I will be having sukham or dukkham. Sukham and dukkham, it's not for the I. It is for the body. And there is self-identity with the body. Therefore, the experience of the body is superimposed on I, the Atma. And also the Atma, which is sentient, which is Chaitanyam, that is superimposed on the body. Paraspara superimposition, paraspara adhyaropa. Body becomes sentient because of Atma. And Atma seems to undergo change because body undergo changes. Therefore, Atma seems to undergo change. That is why you say, I grow, I decay, I suffer, also as though Atma is changing. So this is because of this paraspara, anyonya, adhyaropa, adhyasa. So from this, it's very clear, this Atma, this I, the you cannot be the body. Then are you the sense organs? The sense organs are the means for perception. Through sense organ, you can hear, you can touch, you can see, you can taste, you can smell. So you can objectify the objects through your sense organs. Because it is operated by you. Because the sense organs are operated by you. Therefore, it cannot be you. With the eye, you gain the knowledge of the color or the shape of the object. So, the eye is only an karanam, an instrument. Sometimes your eye eyes have got problem. You're not able to see. You say my eyes. You say my eyes. My eye is my vision. My vision is not correct. You say so. My eyes have problem. My ears have problem. I have hearing problem. So that shows my eye. My eye. When you say this eye is also an object. It is cannot be you. Like you say my book. Book is not you. Similarly, the sense organs, my eye, my ear, any sense organ, that cannot be you. The subject, the person, the knower who operates from behind the sense organ, that is you. But what happens in the transaction? When you operate the sense organs, when you operate the means, you identify with the means. When you operate the car, you don't become the car. You know very well car is different from you. But the same thing is not there, not seen in when you operate your sense organs. When you operate your eye, you are so identified with the eye. You don't see it as the means, like the car. You don't see it as a means for gaining the knowledge of an object, the color or the shape. Similarly, ears. Similarly, skin, touch. So, therefore, like we operate an instrument. Similarly, eyes, ears, nose, all these are instruments. Therefore, they cannot be you. They cannot be you. These are the karanas, karanani. Bhakya karanani are indriyani, antarindriyani. These are operated by you. And the knower is there at the back of all this operation, operating the sense organs. Therefore, you cannot be the sense organ. So, Sharira is not you, and Indriya also is not you. Indriyas are also part of the Sharira. Therefore, when you dismiss Sharira, you can dismiss Indriyas also. So, Sharira Sangata is not you. What about the mind? Are you the mind? Mind is a place. Mind is a place where all the thinkings, all the experiences, all recollection of experiences, everything happen in the mind. And even the operation of sense organs is possible only with the mind backing the sense organs. Otherwise, no sense organs can report sense objects. If mind is not there, they cannot report. Now, if your mind is turbulent, you say, I am turbulent. You are so identified with the mind. The restlessness of the mind is considered to be the restlessness of you, the Atma. The mind is happy, I am happy. Atma is happy. The mind is angry, I am angry. If the mind is dukkha, I am dukkha. So much associated, identified with the mind. The conditions of the mind are taken to be the conditions of Atma. The mind condition changes. So that which changes is an object. That cannot be you. If you also as an object change, then you will not be remembering the change, what had happened before. If you are also a change, then there is no problem. You are also an object. Object changes, you change. If you're also an object, then you cannot know. You cannot know things. You cannot become the subject. Therefore, all the way you are only the subject. All the way you are the subject. Because you are subject, therefore only things, everything become an object of your knowledge. Even the mind, even the emotions, entertained by the mind. Even the knowledge, even the knowledge is not you. The knowledge, what happens in the intellect, that is not you. So from this it is very clear. This Dehadi Sangata, this assemblage of this body, mind, senses, all these are, since they are available for my perception, therefore they cannot be Atma. They cannot be I. Then what are they? like any object, they are also anatma only. So atma, anatma. Atma is I, anatma is not I. Anatma is not I, not me, not I. Na atma, anatma. So therefore, from this we understand atma is that the subject which doesn't change. Anatma means the object which keeps on changing. The changing objects are the knowledge of the changing objects are gained by the changeless subject. Therefore, Atma is Satya. If Atma also changes, then no knowledge is possible. Where this knowledge happen in the mind, and where the knowledge is stored, it is in the mind. So the recollection of the previous knowledge is not possible. How do you observe a change? Suppose an object changes. How do you observe a change? Because you have the knowledge of the previous condition and you have seeing the object now. So you have the knowledge of the current condition. So you compare the condition of the previous and then now, and you know the object has changed. So the knowledge of the previous condition must be there. For that, the knower must be there. If Atma is also an object, then it cannot have the knowledge of the previous condition, not possible. Therefore, Atma is the subject. The subject doesn't change. The subject doesn't change, and everything else, everything other than the subject, they are objects. They change. What are those objects? Objects are not only the external world. External world consisting of things, people, the relation, everything object. Your body is also an object. Your sense organs are also an object. Your mind, your thinking, everything is object because it's available for your perception. So what is available for your perception? They're all objects only. But Atma is not available as an object for your perception. You cannot operate any means to know the Atma. So Atma is independent. Atma is independent. Atma doesn't depend on anything. It being what it is Satyaha. It is Satyam. What about Anatma? Anatma keeps on changing. Therefore, they are not real. Satya, taking the meaning of the word Satya. So what is Satyam? Satyam means that which has got existence, independent existence. To understand Satya, we should know what is Sat. We should know what is Sat. Sat and Asat, important words in Vedanta. Sat and Asat. That which exists independently, that is called Sat. That which exists independently, it is called Sat. That which doesn't have independent existence, it is called Asat. So Asat and Sat. Sat means existence. Satya means existent. Atma is existent. Self-existent, that is Atma. Now let us understand Sat and Asat. Sat is that which has got independent existence. Asat is that which doesn't have independent existence. It means it depends on Sat. It depends on Sat to be existent. So now what is that which exists independently, if you ask? Then we have to do the vichara. That is what we did. What is that which exists independently? The I, the Atma, doesn't depend on the Asat Shariram, this Asat sense organ, this Asat mind. Atma is independent. With the body, Atma is. Without the body also, Atma continues to be. That is what it says, Atma Satyaha. Satya Vastu Atma. Because the body goes, Atma also goes. No, it is not. That is not correct. Body come and body go, but Atma continues to be. Deginosmin yata dege, kaumaram yavvanam jara, tatha dekantara praptihi, dhirastatra na mukhyati. Bhagavan Krishna beautifully says in the Gita, second chapter, in the Deha, Yavana, that is youth, Jara, everything comes and goes. It is only for the body. But Atma continues to be. Atma continues to be, which doesn't undergo any change. Natve vagam jatunasam, natvam neme janadipaha, nachaiva nabhavishyamaha, sarve vayamatah param. Krishna addresses Arjuna. Natveva, it is not that you were not that before. It is not that you will not be after. It means you were before and you will be after also. You were in the past and you will be in the future, and you are now. That is Sat. You are always your nature. You are always existent. That existence is what the word Satyaha is. Satyam, Satyaha. Atma is Satyam. Atma is that which has existence. That which has got existence is Satyam. So that reveals its status. That reveals the status of a thing. The word Satyam reveals the status of a thing in terms of existence. So that which is self-existent, that which is self-evident is Atma, which is Satyam. And what is Asat? What is Mithya? We will see. We will analyze these. We'll analyze and understand what these words are. We will do it in the next class. The knowledge of Satya and Mithya is very important. Without understanding Satya and Mithya, there is no Vedanta. Therefore, Tattvavada is very important. Very important to understand what is Satyam and what is Mithya. If you don't understand the Satyam Mithya, then you will appreciate duality, Dvaitam. And our experiences also confirms Dvaitam. The Dvaitam becomes the reality. It's a problem. So therefore, the knowledge of, the clear knowledge of Mithyatvam is very important. Even the scholars, highly learned people, they have problem with the understanding of the Mithya. Therefore, this Mithya has to be understood. So we will discuss on this statement of the text in detail later, next class. So we stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
The class was very interesting today.
धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद.